What is the one thing you want help with about AI? Are you confused with what AI is? Do you know what ChatGPT is? Are you using it? Do you have a business strategy that's leveraging it? What's going on? We'd love to find out. We're going to talk about how to get more ideas, prompt ideas. If you want 1,000 prompt ideas that I put together as a book, I'm giving it away for free. Absolutely nothing to buy. You can just email my support team, help@behaviorsales.com. I'll put that up on the screen in a little bit. And I'm going to share that resource with you. And I go through on Twitter. I'm starting every day dissecting a prompt, giving tips on how to use AI and things you can implement. So that's going to be really, really cool if you want that. And I'm going to move on to the next slide. What we're talking about today is how to get more stuff done with your unique AI-powered assistant. And this is specifically for coaches, consultants, advisors, course creators, and people who are looking to do sales as well. So this is a completely brand new presentation. So this is something I haven't spoken about or shared with before, and I haven't even shared it with Gerald yet. So this is all very new. There's a whole lot going on. So in the chat, just mention what you'd love some help with, what you'd to know with AI, and I'm going to see what we can cover. So I've got a super question for you right now is, what would feeling like a superhero do for you? What would that do professionally in your business? What would that look like? What tasks would you feel like you could complete that you struggle with? We will be having a conversation about this in due course, but yeah, in the chat, I know that I get stuck personally with like content writing, content creation, sales copy at times. And that's one of the big things that I know leveraging AI has been able to make me feel like a superhero and get stuff done. So if you need my contact information, it's there. I've also put it in the chat. More than welcome to have a conversation with you, brainstorm with you about how to use this. And there's no pressure or expectation of selling anything. So if you want to just chat to somebody who strategizes this type of stuff, that's where you can get that. Also, if you want those 1,000 ChatGPT prompts, all you got to do is email there. If you prefer to go to Amazon and pay $24.95 for it, you can go do that too. So that's on Amazon if you want to buy the book. But if you want the free copy, you can just email that and grab that there. So here's my question to you. Can you relate to this? Right now, the world of AI is changing ridiculously fast. Like Google just came out and swung its left hook and right hook, and it's doing a whole lot of cool stuff. They predict that 30% of jobs will be impacted by AI over the next 24 months. And every day I speak with companies that are implementing AI in an amazing way. For example, I know that there's entire law firms that are laying off their paralegals because they've got AI that can do what paralegals were doing, which was researching case law, preparing documents, all these type of things. I know that there's call centers that are literally replacing call center operators with an AI operator. So they have one person now monitoring 60 phone lines. So one person is able to do the work of 60. And so that's a massive combination of things that's going on there. And I have several calls every single day with coaches and consultants who all want to create an AI coach. They all want to be able to provide better support and engagement to their clients, but are not really sure where to start. What's the challenge or frustration or bottleneck that you're having with AI right now? Where are you? What do you feel stuck with, overwhelmed with, or not sure how to move forward with? Because that's what I'd love to know. That's what I'd love to understand and see how we can support you there as well and help you get unstuck and give you the access to the right tools. Sometimes people are just stuck a little bit with understanding what's really going on and how best to use it. Other times they're just not sure even where to get started because there is now becoming a lot of options. Before we get started, I'm going to dive in and talk about some of the bigger challenges with AI tools and what they call large language models. So an AI tool like ChatGPT is a large language model. Google Bard is a large language model. There's a whole lot of these. Stability AI, Midjourney, they're all out there, and they're built off these large language models. And I want you to understand some of the bigger context, like that 30,000 foot view, so you can be more effective at your AI execution strategy. And that's what we're going to be talking about now. So one of the big things is large amounts of data, which is general and not specific data. So if your AI was trained on the entire world or millions or billions of pages of the internet, that can create problems when it's talking or answering questions about your specific topic, niche, or case study. So if you are a coach or a consultant to chiropractors and you need to give business coaching or consulting advice under that context, you may get incorrect answers because the language model that has been used to train these type of AIs is so broad. It's powerful because it's general, but in specific applications where you want it to be able to analyze your standard operating SOP documents and be able to get questions about your SOP documents, knowing the train times and train tunnel movements of the New York train system and the English tube system is irrelevant. And that actually creates problems in the communication. One of the other big issues is obviously the cutoff dates. OpenAI is 2021. So if your content was created after 2021, think about that. What's today's date? When was the last time you updated your website? Was your website even crawled in the OpenAI update? Was that information included in it? What about your podcasts and videos and everything else that goes with that is quite interesting. So one of the big things that we're also seeing is that this world of what they call prompt hacking, or I actually call it prompt monkey, because you're just really grinding away. A lot of people are getting frustrated with prompts because, as I said at the start, I gave away 1,000 prompts. Having to understand and leverage and work through 1,000 prompts is completely overwhelming. And they've actually admitted that prompt hacking and prompting is actually a bug in the system and it's only temporary. So one of the things that we're going to be talking to you about is how you can actually get a task done without having to worry about a prompt. Because imagine if you want to write a 3-day cold email series and you could just get the output of the 3-day cold email series. You don't have to worry about now, write me a subject line, write me this on that, right? Like the problem with prompting is it gets pulled into one task of writing an email could become 10 or 20 small steps. And that's what's overwhelming. And this is what's slowing people down in the processing and leveraging these type of technologies. Here's another one. Here's another tip for you. So a lot of people are getting frustrated with the output of these AI tools. But here's the thing, it's how you prompt or ask the system to do stuff causes challenges. If you say, don't use exclamation points, you're actually telling the system to use exclamation points. So this is a really important factor that you want to be aware of is you need to understand the artistry and the science of prompting, if that's what you're going to be doing. But I don't even believe you need to be doing any of that. And I'm going to show you why in a little bit. So this session is going to be recorded. This session will be shared so you can watch it again and you can benefit from all the resources there. And we're also going to be doing something really cool with this session, leveraging the AskAskAi platform. So you're going to be able to benefit from that very, very soon. And if you haven't, make sure you register for the summit that we have coming up. It's going to be a very cool summit and there's a whole lot of speakers going on there. So one of the big things you want to be thinking about with this is another problem that a lot of people are experiencing is their AI doesn't sound like them. It doesn't sound like their voice. And this is one of the things you need to understand is that it's really impossible for the AI to sound like you because it was never trained on you. It was never trained on your books, your podcasts, your audios, your videos, your website. It was never done that. So what people are trying to do is they're trying to hack the system, and the Dan hack that a lot of people are using, which is also known as impersonation, is exactly one of the ways people are hacking it, but that's not even required. And what Dan is doing is that Dan is not a hidden feature. It's not a hidden thing. All you're asking the ChatGPT to do is actually just impersonate or act like somebody else with a name. And that's one of the things you want to be aware of. If even doing that is not going to give you the results you want, because you're asking it to impersonate something rather than be trained on your data set. So this is a challenge. But what other challenges or frustrations do you have with AI tools? Put that in the chat right now. And I want to make sure I get these covered and addressed and be able to support you in answering these questions and help you be effective. So with one of the things we're doing is I also want to talk about what we call the content dilemma. So the content dilemma is a massive problem for people like yourself, and it's causing decision fatigue, overwhelm, and it's resulting in status quo action, which means people aren't taking the action you want them to take because they're getting stuck in overwhelm. Overwhelm has been scientifically proven to actually slow the decision-making process, not speed it up. So as much as we get told to create more content, because if you're trying to create content and trying to stand out from your competition, this is impacting you. If, like, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were saying, yeah, they teach people that it requires 21 hours of content for them to educate their leads before they come into buyers. 21 hours of content that they create to fill their funnel, to have people go through. The overwhelm they're creating is massive. So the thing is, when we get told about creating content, we think it's all roses. We think it's like we want to be creating on Twitter and YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, and we write blogs and podcasts. I was literally talking to somebody the other day who's has been doing a daily podcast for 5 years. 5 years of daily podcasts. And I'll come back and talk to you about why this is a problem in just a second. One of the things is it puts us into this position of creating and grinding through content, which to me is always overwhelming. And the thing that I have to do when I have to create content is I've got to go to a coffee shop, I've got to fuel up on caffeine, and I got to sit there and pound out all this content. And some people schedule an hour a day, an hour a week, or however it is, just to go through and grind the content, right? It's not the roses that we've all been sold, because you're creating blogs, podcasts, videos, articles, social media, you name it, right? So the question then becomes, and here's the dilemma, is that you've got so much content that I don't know where to get my answers to my questions. So if you've got hundreds of podcasts, how do I know which podcast I should be watching that's going to answer my question, therefore deliver maximum value to me, your potential buyer? If you've got hundreds of webinars, how do I know which one I should be going to? Which content should I consume and in what order? Because if we've all in a different buying cycle and buying journey, you haven't optimized any of your content for your consumers. That's one of the things you really want to be aware of. So here's the result of what happens nowadays. I literally go to YouTube and then I type in my question on YouTube to get an answer. So you built an entire funnel, which is getting hijacked by TikTok now, or Facebook, or YouTube. And the thing is, you go, my competitors are other people in my industry. No, your competitors are everyone who's trying to get your attention. Because if you can't captivate and lead attention, you can't grow your lead generation. Does that make sense? Can anyone relate to this? Can anyone relate to this experience of going through a buying process, of looking for some information and just ending back up on a site and just getting their question answered so they can take the next step forward in the process? Is this a problem that is only mine? So I'm just going to check is the dilemma. The dilemma is, the dilemma is content overwhelm. The dilemma is we're creating so much content that we're not giving people a clear path on how to actually consume our content. And just because you create a weekly or a monthly podcast doesn't mean I need to listen to a weekly or a daily or a monthly podcast to actually be an effective buyer for you. And one of the things is we've got so much content that we're creating nowadays that we don't even realize it, and we're not leveraging it and making it available to our customers. And I'm going to show you why in a second. So My question to you was, but what if there was a better way, right? So here's something I want to mention to you. So that I want to make sure you caught this secret that happened over the course of this year. Really, the big difference is ChatGPT grew to 1 million users within 5 days and 100 million users within 2 months, right? That's fast. That's very fast. And in comparison, when you look at this, music was 150 days of Spotify. Instagram was 75 days. So visual stimulation, visual engagement was 75 days. Auditory engagement took 150 days to get 1 million users. But chat and conversational user interface. And I've been a big believer of chat and text message style user interfaces for many years now. Took 5 days to get to 1 million users. And there's something really powerful here, is that chat-based user experiences equal engagement, right? Engagement equals dollars. So you may be trying to build your audience and get 10,000 likes or 100,000 followers, but you really need to be asking is, how am I engaging them? How am I stimulating them to ask questions and get their questions answered? And the more I can actually get people to have their questions answered quickly, the more valuable people will perceive I am. This is all connected to what I call the content dilemma, this overwhelm of content. Because if I've been doing a weekly webinar, which I have been for over a year now, there's hundreds of videos on YouTube. How do I empower you to get your questions answered so you get your questions answered from me rather than from one of my competitors? And so if you're a coach, consultant, advisor, or a trainer, how did this work for you? I was talking to a company the other day, and they literally deal with SOPs. And they write hundreds of standard operating procedures, SOPs, like checklists for how you do things in the business. And they've got binders on binders. So the problem is that their employees are looking for which SOP to use. And the problem is they can't find the answer to the SOP, so then they make it up. And as a result, you've got now people doing different things and not following the company procedures. What a big takeaway you can take away from this is, how can I create a chat style interaction? And we're actually seeing that a chat style interaction can replace amazing websites nowadays and be more effective. So there's a whole lot going on, particularly if you've been writing blogs and everything for a long time. So if you're a coach or consultant and you want to know, how do I grow my business using AI? I'm going to share with you right now exactly how to do that. What if you could engage your audience with a tweak that took less than 15 minutes? All right? That's the question. It's a powerful question. What if you could create your own AI assistant in 15 minutes that was trained on your content and not that of the rest of the world? Pretty cool, right? So what if you could actually leveraging a marketing assistant? So not just a Q&A chatbot, but an assistant that got tasks done for you. Write my emails, write a 30-day email sequence, create social media posts, create video scripts, create sales pages, create lead magnets, do a book launch. We're literally working with a few publishers right now to automate the entire book launch process. So doing a 30, 60, or 90-day book launch, and then automate the monthly marketing that goes out to keep promoting a book. The press releases, the social media posts, the engagement. We're actually in the process of being able to automate reading your books using your AI. We can either clone your voice or you just use an AI avatar and it'll read your book for you in 15 minutes. You know, the biggest pain in the butt when you write a book, I've written 5 books. Here's one of them right here, just to prove I've written a book, right? Reading this thing to have it available on Audible is a pain in the butt because you've got to edit it, you've got to read it, and then it's just not a fun experience. If I could load this thing up, I've got 3 other books on my computer right now that I haven't published because the whole audio book, marketing of the book is not the most fun part. It's more enjoyable to write them and not publish them. So there's a procrastination thing, right? And I'm not the only author who's done this. So the thing is, there's now AIs that'll literally speak your books for you. It's that powerful. So the thing is, there's a big difference between what we call training an AI and being able to take all of your content and train an AI to now be able to answer questions about your stuff. And that's what we've been able to create with AskAskAi, which is part of our product suite now. So we can actually take your content, your PDFs, your audios, your videos, your online learning, and literally train an AI on that content. So now it knows your ideas, your frameworks, your voices, and it can actually write content knowing your model, knowing your SOPs for your business. We can actually create help instructions. We can write emails. We can write the content to support that. And you can embed our chat widgets on your websites. We provide you with landing pages for these, and it gets really cool. And this is where we started, which is what's really exciting about this, because we're now repurposing your content to make it more engaging. Because imagine if every podcast you did was able to be fully loaded into an AI that could be summarized, that people could ask questions about and interact with. You will create more engagement. That's how powerful this is. But what about this? What if you could automatically translate your content into 95 languages and then capitalize on new markets? So one of the things I've been doing recently is converting my stuff into Spanish, French, and German. And I'm also going to be expanding into Mandarin because it's now opening up new opportunities for me in new markets that will speak English to me, but they like to consume the content in their native tongue. I was literally dealing with a company the other day, and one of the problems is that they're a big multinational, and 80% of their employees will not complete the company training because it's in the primary language of English, which is not their first language. Does that make sense? So imagine if you're creating content, and it's in your default language, right? And look, I understand, I speak bad English. I speak convict English. I'm Australian, right? If you don't understand what that means, Google it, right? We're all criminals from the Crown and from England, right? So that's what Australia was made up of, criminals, right? So the thing is, I speak bad Queen's English, but my content is now available in 95 languages, which means I'm no longer just competing with the consultants and the coaches down the street. I'm now playing at a global level, and I'm leveraging an AI to make that possible. We're helping clients right now take their entire YouTube video series and create a Spanish version of it, a French version of it, a German version of it, an Arabic version of it. And you know what? They are seeing ridiculous growth in sales because now they're capitalizing on an untapped market. So 75% of the planet does not speak English at all. Right? You want to be aware of that. English is one market. And nowadays, with the globalization of our economy, only keeping your content in English means you're actually only serving 1 in 4 people. So you can actually capitalize on bigger markets if you do this right. So one of the things you want to be aware of is making your content available in more than one language. If you know who Mr. Beast is on YouTube, one of the big things he did was make his content available in multiple languages. So it's massive, the opportunity. And a lot of people miss these subtle things. And like, why do these people blow up? It's because they're leveraging new markets that you're dismissing. So you're working harder than you need to be and not allowing the AI algorithms to work for you. The translations for automation have become very powerful and accurate. We've actually created a system that allows us to do AI, but then have human overlay, which is very cool. And we can turn, like, I'm going to talk to you about it in just a few minutes, but what if you could actually have people find the answers to their questions faster? So if you're a coach or a consultant and you've got an online course, people have questions. And one of the things we've seen over the time of the consumption of course content, I've been creating online courses since 2004. So a little while now, right? It's why I've got no hair. One of the things is that we know that a lot of people will get stuck with their online training if they can't get their question answered. So people think the result then was adding a Facebook group or doing weekly webinars and doing these conversations and all this stuff. But then you get all these calls, all these recordings. There's nothing worse than buying a course and then going into a Facebook group and they're all talking about stuff that is next step, next level from you, and you miss it. Or you can't access the answers you want from a Facebook group. We can actually take your entire Facebook group and load it into the AI and train the AI so it answers questions to people nowadays. You've got all this content. So this is what we're talking about here. So the average employee spends 1.8 hours every day. That's 9.3 hours per week on searching and gathering for information. So they're looking for the stuff to do their job. They're looking for the SOPs. They're looking for the tasks. They're looking for information to be effective. How many times throughout the day, do you spend searching your Dropbox, your Google Drive, your OneNote for files or resources that you worked on even last week? I know I'm always doing it. So this next slide is going to be a real kicker, because I gave you an interesting statistic there real quick. So the thing is, if you work with a 10 employee company, right, that's 93 hours per week. That's 419 hours a month. That's at an average cost of $20 an employee. That's $8,000 a month you're spending on people searching for answers to their questions. And you can scale from there. I was literally dealing with a client that has 100,000 employees. Hence, I put this slide together. Their bill is about $83 million a month of what it costs them to pay people to be searching for answers to questions when you're talking about corporate productivity and effectiveness. That's really impressive. And when you start to understand the impact of this on a company, it's massive. So what if your AI assistant could actually create social media posts for you, video scripts, email copy in your voice, all automatically? And as I mentioned before, we've actually created our AI writer that will actually write posts for you. And instead of you having to worry about the prompts, we've already preloaded them and pre-trained them. So you can go, I just want a LinkedIn post for this. And it literally gives you the output the right time, the first time, or you just hit the refresh button and it recreates it away for you. We've got humor-based posts. We've got joke-based posts. We can rewrite 30 days of content for you for social media posting in about 15 minutes, all trained on your content or the content of your clients. Not trained on ChatGPT, not trained on somebody else's voice, but trained on your content, your voice. So if you've published a book, you could have more than enough content than you'll ever need, because the AI will consume your book and then turn your book into hundreds of posts, write video scripts, you name it. If you do regular podcasts, this becomes absolutely fantastic for the opportunity here. So the thing is what if you never had to worry about doing a prompt again and got the task done instead of worrying about the prompt and messing around with the prompt? This is the big opportunity here, because now you can be more effective. So all of this is what's possible with our AskAskAi. Has this been beneficial, interesting to people? Give me some nods if it's of interest. If it's boring you to tears, put a thumbs down or say, Ben, this is boring as hell in the chat. That is all okay too, right? Because I'm trying to give you that 30,000 foot view so you can really understand how to leverage AI effectively right now and how to gain a competitive advantage, because you can gain a massive advantage right now with some of these opportunities with what we're talking about. So one of the big things, as I said, but there is more, like there is a free set of steak knives that come with all of these. One of the cool things we've actually created, and this was the request of some of our clients, was what we call dynamic translation. And what that means is you can actually upload your PowerPoint slides to our AI, and it'll translate your entire PowerPoint slide presentation for you in up to 95 languages. So now, not only can you offer your training with transcripts and captions, you can literally offer your slide decks in Spanish or French or German or Arabic or Russian and what have you. That is awesome. Because if you actually are having facilitators lead and train off your content, providing it into them in their native tongue is a massive opportunity. So what our AI does is literally is take your original English presentation or French presentation or German presentation, and it'll literally translate that. One of the challenges we were dealing with when I was talking to this multinational is that they're having training created by their Italian division, their French division, their German division, all of this type of stuff. There's training everywhere. But the thing is, if I don't speak that language, I don't have access to that training. And vice versa. Now with the AskAlex platform that we put in there, they upload all of their training to our platform. And now it's instantly accessible and available to everybody, regardless of the language they speak. It can translate. Next slide, please. So this is all part of the power of how you can leverage this type of stuff and do that. But there is certainly a lot more that's available. As I mentioned earlier, you can actually now have AI speak your content, which you're like, why would I care about that? We've seen on Facebook, stories are very powerful. We've seen on TikTok, videos are very powerful. You can do audio or video overlay. So now what if you can have an AI read your posts that it wrote and actually create audios or videos that you could then use for media publication, for therefore gaining your audience? You're now capitalizing on your time. You're now leveraging your time and compounding the effectiveness of your time. That's what we're talking about here, is how can you do one thing, which is what you do well, and then leverage these AI tools to compound your effectiveness. That's what we're talking about here. So if you want to train the AI on your own stuff, you can literally go to the AskAskAi.com platform, and literally you can create yourself a free account, or you can email our support team. We'll create a free account for you, and you can start uploading your content and training your own AI. You can start leveraging our tools. There's no cost to it, and you just pay for the additional resources or inputs, or if you want some of the fancy features. But that's all what's available. So our goal on what we're actually doing is literally to create an AI assistant that is more like your CMO, your Chief Marketing Officer, than an AI assistant. So imagine now if you were able to have an AI-powered CMO that was able to do a lot of tasks for you, get stuff done rather than you having to do it. So if you're a solo entrepreneur, you're a single coach or consultant, imagine if you're able to compound your effectiveness now because you had an AI that would do the stuff every single day. Write the post, we're even setting up a system that'll do the posting for you and schedule the posts for you and all of that stuff for you. You can approve everything it writes, and once you approve the video scripts and all that type of stuff, it literally goes and creates it and posts it and shares it and does all the busy work for you. That's ridiculously powerful and freeing. Like, I've actually been able to get so many hours back in my week because I'm now more effective with my time. And that's what using AI is right for. Like, I had one client who was able to close a $60,000 deal just because of how we showed them how to improve their scripting and communication. We had another client just this week, that's actually from yesterday, the result from Suzanne. She was able to get a lead that is a very big lead because we helped our AI improved her cold LinkedIn outreach scripting. It was more effective than what they were already doing, and as a result, they're getting more appointments, more bookings. This is what it takes to be an effective CMO for a lot of operators. And that's what's really powerful about this. So if you're interested in finding out more about this type of stuff, we've got a whole lot of cool resources. But at the end of the day, right now, I'm actually looking to onboard 5 what I call new VIP clients who would be going through a 90-day overhaul to increase sales. And they'll be leveraging our full AI suite. So I literally going to be giving you access to every piece of powerful technologies for us to build some case studies. Because here's my objective. My objective is over the next 90 days, I build amazing case studies and stories that I can use to grow our platform. So I'm literally looking for people who want to become my showcase, my case studies and stories, who want to be part of that and literally grow their marketing, grow their business, grow their sales. And we call that part of our CMO, Ask Alex CMO offer. But if you want to leverage the Ask Alex AI and create a free account, you can certainly do that and start training your own AI and create your own chatbot that'll have your own content writer. You can do that for free on the Ask Alex AI platform. But I'd also like to now open it up the floor for a few minutes to ask any questions, to get any questions answered. Or if you just want to say, Ben, that was crap, you can say that as well. I respect all opinions.
Hi, Ben. How are you? This is Juan Pablo. How's it
Fantastic.
going?
Good.
How's it going? Yeah, okay. I used to work as a translator. I mean, as a professional translator for many years.
Mhm.
And one of the main concerns, if not the top, the biggest concern, there were 2 concerns actually with AI. First, confidentiality. Since AI fits with your content, so suppose that you are translating sensitive things and you come up with a name for your product and you put it in the database, so the database will fit there, and eventually, I'm not saying it will happen, but eventually some people may access that. So how are you countering that? Secondly, from what I mean, up until now, and I have been in touch with many translation agencies and localization agencies. Machine translation hasn't been able to translate properly into their language. Okay, maybe some basic stuff, but most of the time you actually need to have a human eye
Well,
behind that.
yeah.
Okay,
So I can
so
answer both of those questions. So they're great questions, by the way, great questions. So the first question is, the way we've set our data up is everyone is siloed independently. So if I'm working with Bernie and Wes, we're not creating an AI that's Bernie and Wes together. We create a Bernie AI and a Wes AI, and they never interact and never cross lines, because everybody's AI should be independent, not general and global and specific. So the thing is everyone's AI is specific. So that's why we can work with med tech companies, law firms, and a lot of high-end companies who require massive compliance requirements, because their data is siloed. Everybody's data is siloed and not connected. So that's one. On the AI translation, we do 2 things. We can actually take existing translated content and create a French version of your content. So we train in English. We can, if you've already got stuff trained in French or German or Arabic or whatever it is, we can literally train that in that content as well. So therefore, you've actually got a trained AI in your translation, which then becomes very powerful, because now you've actually got a trained AI for that translation, which then becomes more effective. We've also seen massive improvements in the translation effectiveness of the AIs in the last 4 months. Just the way that they operate, the way they work is significantly, like, it's leaps and bounds better than it was 6 months ago, 12 months ago. So it all depends really on the stack that you're using for the translation. But the other thing we also offer our clients is you can submit for the AI translation, and then we can actually also have a human layer of translation, which is validation and localization that sits on top of that, which then feeds back a better translator response. Some clients don't want that. They believe, they're of the thought of a translation, as long as it relates and as good as a Google translation, it's better than no translation at all. So it all depends on how advanced you want to go in the system. The best thing you could be doing is literally creating a localization dictionary for different languages, but a lot of people don't even have that. So we can work with them on creating that. So like the more we translate for companies, it starts to create a better, more intelligent AI. So hopefully that answers your questions that you had.
Yes, there comes another question, because when you said that, there's another thing that is a concern. I'm sorry, I don't want to hold the whole conversation. I just want to have a debate here, because as a former translator, I understand the problem. How are you doing cultural validation with that? Because yeah, you might translate from word by word, but there are certain things that you have to be careful with. Certain things that can actually get you into a legal problem if you're not aware of them. I haven't found a way to actually do it that is not a human that says, hey, this is not right. I want to know how you guys are solving that. And hopefully it will overcome some objections that people may have, and more people will sign for you. So
100%. So one of the things we're actually doing is when we do translation for clients, we're actually providing a geolocation frame for it, because even with Spanish, there's Catalonian, there's Spanish, there's many dialects of Spanish. There's even Miami Spanglish, right? So there's a whole array of localization. So one of the things you want to be aware of is, if I'm translating, what was the frame or the geolocation of the translation base I created, and not assume it's the same for all. So that helps really a lot with the localization. But the big question is, when you're looking about this type of stuff, is yeah, there's many ways you can go with localization. But if you're just going to keep everything you're doing in one language, you're missing out on an opportunity. It doesn't have to be perfect to be effective. We do know, even with English, you can actually have words spelled backwards and the human brain will still read it and a message will be delivered. So the thing is, are we going for perfect, or are we going for effective to deliver a message, to create a conversation? Because everything we're trying to do with the whole use of AI is stimulate conversations, because conversations create sales. And if we're not even going to bother about creating a conversation, then why bother with the translation in the first place? Why bother using AI tools? And why the hell aren't we at a beach drinking a beer right now instead of being on this bloody webinar? Bernie's looking at me and going, this guy's crazy. It's all good. I get that all the time, Bernie. Don't you worry. Any other questions? Anyone want to? Hey, and I love those questions. Any questions, debates? You want to know something about AI? More than happy to be a resource. You have 10 more minutes of my time before I have to go pick up my dog from the groomer. So if you want it, occupy it. If not, I will bail.
So I've got a question for you. Will the AI also provide you stats on where people are picking up the information, what they're hunting out for? It sounds like a reasonable thing to do, but will it help you sort that information out?
Yeah, so it helps you understand what questions people are asking for, what questions people are looking for, and therefore allows you to frame your content. So if you're creating a lot of podcasts or videos or things like that and trying to frame what are people looking for, or if they watch this video, particularly if you create online learning, what are the things we missed that should be included in the training that we missed completely? Which for e-trainers is massively valuable feedback.
Is it like A/B testing too? Will it also handle that piece?
We haven't got A/B testing included in the system at this point in time, but that's interesting. And that would create a new variable for us to play with. So I'll certainly think about that. But right now it's more about taking your content and turning it into questions. One of the things we did for an author the other day, we're actually taking over 1 million books right now, 1 million books, and turning them into what they like cliff notes, book summaries, but also book quizzes. So literally turning the books into quizzes to then use those for book marketing and publishing. So imagine if all of this stuff was done to engage your audience. So if you create podcasts and every episode had its own quiz, that was then social media posts to create engagement, to bring people back to the posts. And all of that could be in 1 language or 50 languages, like that becomes your choice. So that's the type of stuff we're doing, is like, how do we take your content and make it more engaging and make it easier for people to interact with and consume without you having to spend hours in front of the computer?
So how do you register to get in there? I went on the website and it says register, and it says, oh, sign in with a passcode. I'm like, I don't have a passcode.
We're literally delivering the new platform. So 2.0 of our platform this week. So if you just want to email that help@behaviorsales.com email address, I can get you on the VIP list to get an account when we release it in a few hours or tomorrow, what have you. I keep getting told tomorrow by the developers. So be very, very soon. We're testing it every day right now, but yeah, there's a whole lot of cool stuff.
Fair enough. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, and more than happy to create a content strategy with you and go, hey, let's look at what content you have. How do you best train the AI so you can really leverage things in a powerful way?
Benjamin, part of the service is you guys helping us to lots of files on Dropbox or different PowerPoint presentations, Excel spreadsheets, emails to clients, all the information there. So it actually searches all that data. So giving you a response. So it's so easy to find stuff. If that's what you're saying you can do.
Yeah, and more importantly, you can ask questions and get an answer about any of the documents that you've uploaded to the systems or the videos or your e-learning. So it's like, what's the fire protocol for evacuating building C, for example? And if that was in an email and a PDF, it'll literally combine the two and give me the answer to that. So then I don't have to go, geez, where was that bloody email about the fire procedure protocol? And what do I got to do to deal with that?
Yeah, so it'll actually take data from different files and then put it all
Yes.
together in an answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it quotes its source. So the cool thing is that we did with our platform is we actually made it quote inside its source. So it's going, hey, I'm referencing this video in module 3.1 and also referencing this email or this PDF. So that way you can go to the source. Because sometimes when you get your information, you want to go to the source, and other times you just want the answer. Like, and it all depends on what you're looking for. The source referencing was very powerful for SOP documents or procedures or spreadsheets and stuff where there's lots and lots of data and you're like, oh, that's where it is. That's that group of files I was looking for.
And if you have historical data, it'll actually track stuff from historical, say anything from say 5-10 years ago. If it's dated that long ago, it'll know that.
Our system doesn't matter on when the reference was for timing. It's just if you provide that information, because you're training the AI on data from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and you can timestamp and reference everything. So yeah, can see the changes, because then you can ask comparative questions on comparing what we did last year to this year if you've got that type of data as well in your data set.
So here's an example. If I had a file with some costing on it, right, from say 5 years ago, and I say, hey, what's the cost on these materials today? It wouldn't know that because it only has costing for 5 years ago. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. It would need costings from
it would just pull that data out, and assuming it's current date, right?
Correct. Yes.
Understood. Thanks.
Any other questions? Guess what time it is? It's time for me to go pick up my dog from the groomer and get fleeced by the groomer. Thank you everyone for joining. If you've got questions, more than happy to be a resource. You can connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn, or you can buy me a beer at the local bar. Have a fantastic weekend and enjoy.